Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm fresh off of homework on the Denver Nuggets. So we're talking about the Lakers and the Nuggets tonight here at Crypto.com Arena. The Lakers got their first win against the Nuggets, and we were very happy because, of course, it was a win against a very good team, and we hadn't had any wins up until that ninth game or something like that against this team, and we were able to squeeze it out. And I was a little critical about them in regards to celebrating the game because I wasn't aware it was Coach's first win, so that us celebrating our first win as a team just seemed kind of small to me, given the fact that we had lost so many up to that point. But all in all, it was the beginning signs of our team being able to turn it around and start to show signs that we really were getting our stuff together. Although I'd say we were starting to get our stuff together maybe 2 games before that. We just hadn't had it manifest into anything successful yet. But we know that against the Nuggets, we have had a win thus far. And we're a better team since then. So that's very encouraging. Now, let's tell you, the Nuggets are a team that has a very, very consistent rotation situation right now. They're on a 3-game winning streak, and they just dropped 143 points on the Washington Wizards. Kuzma looked great in that game, by the way, for those who are wondering if he might be a Laker. I'm warming up to it, given what I've been seeing. But nevertheless, Nikola Jokic, as I told you guys at some point in time during the summertime, I think he's going to be the MVP again, even though a lot of people have stepped out ahead of him and are playing fantastic. I just think that if he plays a full season, if he's healthy every game, it's going to be nearly impossible for anyone to out-efficiency him, if that's a word. You cannot be more efficient than him. I don't know if it's possible based on his ability to score and pass and rebound at such a ridiculous clip every night. And he did that. He did that exact thing. I don't remember his exact stat line, but it was ridiculous and beyond normal. As a superstar, you just expect that from Jokic. Some of the best passes you've ever seen, dominating the paint against the Wizards. And as a team, the Nuggets had 98 points in the paint on the Wizards. That's 98 points. Meaning that this is a team like us that doesn't shoot the ball a lot. They have good 3-point shooting discipline, unlike most of the league. It's us and them, basically, in regards to teams that want to shoot in the paint. Score in the paint, although, unlike us, they have plenty of shooters. In fact, they have one of ours, KCP. So it's not like we can leave them back there. They just are disciplined to score the ball in the paint more so than behind the arc, and they only use that shot as a jab, basically. So that's what we need to expect. And if we're not matching up against this team tonight with size, we might as well not even suit up, because this is the kind of game where you have to expect to see this team in the playoffs if you're lucky enough to make it. As simple as that. This is the Denver Nuggets, and they're starting to come along in a real way. They haven't been healthy in about 3 years, with about, I'd say, 2 of their 3 core players out with season-ending injuries that had them out for years at a time. But they're both, I don't know about Michael Porter. Michael Porter might be still out. I think I saw him in street clothes in the last game. But Jamal Murray is someone who's been in rotation at a very, very high level over the last couple of games. And he's been killing it for them in their 3-game winning streak. He's found himself. So we got to look for Jamal Murray to basically be Jamal Murray. And for those who have forgotten, he and Donovan Mitchell have one of the great duo playoff series between 2 players that the game has ever seen, if you ask me. That was just one of the greatest matchups between 2 players in the playoffs. And so that's what he can do. Drop 50 on you, shoot 8-9 threes, hit the last game-winning shot, attempt 16 free throws, make all of them. Like, he's just that kind of guy. Extremely gifted, extremely efficient when he's healthy, and a killer of the very highest order. And I say very highest order, I believe that he can win. He can win. So you just have to understand that when he has the ball in his hands, you're in trouble, basically. Jamal Murray, and the better shape he gets in, the more serious that becomes. So that's another one of those guys. And then they got a guy by the name of Aaron Gordon right now, who's just really found his way, man. He's playing some of the best ball he's played since he left Orlando. Right now, he really, really looks good. He's just darting in and out of lanes and stuff. Last year, to me, it looked like he was kind of lost in his role. I think they were looking at him to kind of fulfill Jeremy Grant's role and not really be his offensive self. And I just think that now they've learned his game. It's been some time. He's gotten settled in. He's been in the role, comfortable in the role for a while, and now he's just flourishing in it. It's like he's mastered the Nuggets role that they've given him. And he looks almost like an all-star. I don't know that he makes an all-star team this year, but they're a very good team, and I'd say he's the 3rd best player on it. And this is just one of those years where you really want to acknowledge Aaron Gordon, and most importantly, guard against Aaron Gordon. He can hit the corner three, but he can eat in the paint all day. And it was a lob fest in that last game. Very, very entertaining stuff against the Washington Wizards. They were finding ways to get him the ball in midair a lot, and it was pretty. So we're going to have to keep an eye on guys looking to make Aaron Gordon an all-star tonight. Let's see. Now, this is where it gets tricky for me because there's players, and I always make this mistake with. Monte Morris is with the Washington Wizards. He used to be with the Nuggets. I was about to do it again. So, no, he's not a part of this. But Bruce Brown used to be with the Nets, and he ended up replacing Morris's spot in Denver. So that's who it is that I'm referring to as we speak. Bruce Brown is a guy who went 4 for 5 in the last game, and he's somebody who's also playing well of this stretch. I don't know if they're starting him or if he's coming off the bench. I know they got KCP in rotation, Christian Braun as well. So they got a lot of guards that they can use there. But he's really been doing some good things with the minutes given, and we're going to have to keep a very close eye on him. So he was one of the guys that was getting Aaron Gordon involved, getting lobs to him and stuff like that. And as I said, he was highly efficient. Also, Jeff Green for this team, the Denver Nuggets. Jeff Green is in fantastic shape. And the signature dunks that he used to be able to do, jumping from basically the free throw line and stuff like that, he did one of those in the very last games. His athleticism hasn't gone anywhere. I don't know why Jeff Green can still dunk on people like he's 19 years old, but that's exactly what I'm telling you. He can still dunk on people like he's 19 years old. We have got to keep an eye on Jeff Green. This is a good stretch for their entire team, basically. As I said, they have a very set rotation of about 8 guys that they go to, and all of them are clicking right now. So we got to keep an eye open for that specific thing. He's one of them. Bruce Brown loves to attack you. He loves to play well against the dang Lakers. He's one of those dudes who will go for 25 against us and not do nothing against nobody else. He is that. So we need to pay attention to him. He loves to attack the paint, and he loves to play defense. We know that. He's an aggressive scoring guy who's going to draw fouls. We have got to be accountable for Bruce Brown. Remember what he did to you when he was with the Nets last year. He had one of his best games on us. This is somebody who is an anti-Laker person. We have got to keep an eye on him. Of course, I mentioned KCP. We know our guy KCP. Defense to offense for him. 3-point shots. His shot comes and goes as far as the three is concerned, but we know he can hit it. We've seen him hit it in big games. We've seen him hit it millions of times. So I don't think I have to teach anybody anything about KCP in regards to Lakerland. We just need to guard our guy. We need to guard our champion because we know he can kill us, and he's probably going to be extra motivated to do so because this is us and he's him. So we got to keep an eye on KCP. Of course, we want to continue to motion in regards to the Denver Nuggets roster. It's another player there that I really want to re-mention already, Christian Braun, because last time when we were scouting this team, we were very much aware of what he was doing because he was kind of having some fantasy relevance at the time. Right now, he's starting to pick up his game in the role that they've given him since. He's settled in his own thing. He's a rookie, and he's a guy who can do things on both sides of the floor. So he's starting to have a nice stretch run. We must be accountable for Christian Braun. He's serious, and he dunked on somebody in that last game, too, if I'm not mistaken, in the highlights. So we got to keep an eye open. This Denver team, man, they are a contender, a real contender. I don't know if Porter's going to play tonight or not, but that gives them a catch-and-shoot guy who can score repeatedly as well to further make things difficult for us. They got so many different guys on that bench as well that they could go to that allow them a lot of depth. They just don't choose to. But if for some reason they do decide to go deeper in the bench, they got guys. And that's the thing about this Nuggets team. We just have to understand that they can go deep. They have different ways of playing. If they want to shoot the ball from behind the arc and beat you that way, they could shack up 45 3-point shots. They have the shooters to do it. If they want to, again, score 98 points in your paint, Nikola Jokic is one of the best players of all time. He could definitely dominate your centers. So it's one of those situations where it's like, now you look up and there's another guy, Bones Highland, that must be mentioned. He also is having a good stretch run. He also has been playing well in this 3-game winning streak, finding his shot, dancing on people, shooting the three, getting in the mid-range, just being wiry. You know what I mean? And with Will Barton no longer in the fold, he's kind of taking some of Will Barton's responsibilities in this rotation. And he's doing good work with those responsibilities. So if we're not accountable for Bones Highland, this could be a Bones Highland night. And we know he could shake and dance and go crazy. He's done that against us before. So Like I said, this is a really serious contender with a lot of multiple ways of being able to attack you. Um, they can play big, they can play small if they choose to, and it's just very very cool to me to see that arguably the very best passer in the basketball today is a center. And the types of assists that he gets is really really special. Some of the bounce passes and different things he's able to do, over the shoulder passes. We're gonna see some fantastic passing tonight by him, no question about it. So yeah, Mike Malone is a guy, he's coach who's going to go to what he knows. He likes to go to his strengths. Sometimes he does some things that are a little unorthodox to me, but I really do like him as a coach overall. So we're going to have to do smart things against him in order to out-strategize him. Like I said, this team knows themselves. They play a certain way to go to their strengths. They don't like shooting the three very much. They want to attack you on the inside, use Nikola Jokic to get guys cutting toward the basket, stuff like that. Pick and roll here and there. He'll shoot the three if he wants to establish himself as a scorer, which he has been. Obviously scoring 48 points in the last game, 31 in a triple-double in the game before that, and so on and so forth. So he's on one of those stretches. So we just have to expect that he's going to have that kind of game tonight. You don't expect anything less than a high-scoring triple-double from him. And the thing about him in the last game is he had 8 turnovers. Now, that's not a thing when you're given the type of numbers he had, how much the ball was actually in his hands. I mean, it was practically in his hands all game. So that's not really a thing. But what I did notice is before their 3-game losing streak, they had a couple losses, and one of the games that they played in was against the New Orleans Pelicans, where the Pelicans got them pretty good. In that game, they turned the ball over, I think, 17 times. And unlike in the previous game that they've played with the Washington Wizards, where they turned the ball over 19 times, they weren't able to make up for it on the rebounding edge, and they weren't able to make up for it and some of the other areas necessary to make it make sense for them. So I think our highest bet is to try to force the Nuggets into turnovers, and then to try to do our very best to limit what they're able to accomplish in the paint against us. Obviously, if they're scoring 98 against the Wizards, we don't have that much better talent in the paint if we don't have AD down there. And AD's always up playing from behind foul trouble because of how we've managed him lately. So I need us to not play with him in foul trouble, because if he's in foul trouble and they're able to attack our paint, they're pretty much beating us. So we're going to have him playing defense, which means he cannot be in foul trouble, which means he also may not be able to give us 50 points tonight because he's going to have to be on Jokic, and he's going to have success against Jokic if we're going to be successful. And so I don't know what that means. Maybe we go to him more so and try to get Jokic in foul trouble. But I just don't know that necessarily plays in your favor either, because what that can do for this particular unit is switch them to a small ball lineup that's run by Jamal Murray, and you're going to get run out of here. That's how that goes. They put Bones Highland on the floor. They put Bruce Brown on the floor. They put Jamal Murray on the floor. They put Gordon on the floor, and they run. And so that's one of them situations where we're not in an advantage against this team in a multitude of ways based on the matchups they can provide with their roster, well constructed as it is. And ours not being complete at all. Especially since now I'm hearing Wenyen Gabriel is not going to suit up tonight, even though it's been rumored all week that he's 100% ready to go. So I don't know if I am to believe that or not, but the latest report says that Wenyen will not be available in tonight's game against the Nuggets, which is a huge letdown because we've been screaming about it all week. And his shoulder's getting on our nerves, man. I don't know why this young player's shoulder still hurt, bro. Like, it's pissing me off. We really, really need his piece, and he's not healed up after a week and a half. He's been out since halfway through the road trip. We ain't won since. We won one game since he left. I told y'all we could not function without Wenyen Gabriel, and I was not capping. I said that before we even started losing. He went out of the lineup the next game fortuitously for my take, and sure enough, we ain't functioned properly since. Been blowing leads, bricking layups, everything. Nothing's worked. And this is what I said at the beginning of the season. We were losing all them games when we weren't playing them, and now we're losing all these games when we're not playing them. We do not function properly without Wenyen Gabriel. I don't care who all is better than whom on this team. That's the piece for this roster that couldn't afford to be removed. And here we are. We see it. It is clear as day. When we don't play him, we don't win. Unless it's Detroit. And that's pretty much it, man. So as far as I can tell, if he ain't playing, we ain't winning. I don't like to be that definite about things. But the Lakers, they've taken away a whole lot of my confidence in them. You can't have the type of game they had against the Boston Celtics, where they have a 37-4 run in the fourth quarter, having been down by more than 15 points and then going up by more than 13 points in the same game, and then finding a way to give that lead all the way back in crunch time, missed the game-winning everything, free throws, layups, everything that could have possibly sealed the game. We lost it. And then from there, went into overtime and proceeded to do everything that betrays who it is that we're trying to become. I could not have been more disappointed in the Los Angeles Lakers, despite them doing things in that game that made me extremely encouraged. They have a heart issue. They have a closing game issue, a clock management issue, timeout using issues. We got so many different technical issues. It's based on our coach being a rookie and our stars not necessarily being experts at clock management. For all of their talents, they're not. And so that's what I want to see the Los Angeles Lakers try to engage in. I would like to have seen them do some homework on what they weren't any good at over these last couple of weeks and apply that to this game. If you find yourself in a situation where you could change some things that you did in the last game, do that. And don't think that just because you missed a mark in one game that you have to make that same mark in the next game. That's a mistake that our coach did in overtime. Going to Lonnie Walker when Lonnie Walker had literally bricked just about every shot he had taken in the game, with the exception of a layup that he made down the stretch of it. Lonnie Walker did not need to be subbed in overtime. But because our coach decided that it was a mistake to have not subbed him in the matchup against Philly, where we collapsed and went to heck in overtime, he decided that it was most important to put him in this game in overtime. And I'm saying, yo, this is two different games. He was playing well in that one. He's playing bad in this one. That's no. And it's just some of the gut choices that Darvin Ham has made, he's going to have to get away from. You know, going to the short players, Schroeder and Patrick Beverly against a team like the Boston Celtics was an absolute nightmare. They were able to do whatever they wanted to do with those players on the floor in the 19 minutes they were each down there. And because of it, as usual, we are at a disadvantage. He wants to start Patrick Beverly every game. He doesn't correlate the understanding that we are always coming from behind when we do that. Every time we put Austin Reeves and Westbrook in the game, they got a 6-point deficit to try to come back from. This is not a good position to put players in. You got to start the games with the type of size that can at least give you a matchup necessary to assure that your rebounds and your start gets right, that you can establish yourself with the foundation to start the game that doesn't have you fighting from behind and playing in foul trouble because of it. These are the type of things I want our coach to immediately study and immediately start to implement into his overall game plan. You know, he's made a lot of very key mistakes, and that's cool because he can now study those mistakes and not make them again. But it's important that we get that. So, yeah, now individual players, of course, we're going to go to Anthony Davis and just flat out say it. Bro, please go deep into yourself and find out why you can't hit free throws down the stretch of these basketball games. We got to look at ourselves in the mirror and just do what we need to do to overcome that free throw demon, man. It's acceptable from LeBron James because he's not a free throw shooter. It's not acceptable from a guy who hits all of them except for the ones that matter. It becomes a problem. It becomes a choking issue. It becomes an issue that we start looking at you saying you can't win games for us. And it's a problem. So I don't want to bash him, and I don't want to put more emphasis on things that he cannot control. But what I will say is, if you can control hitting the first 13, you got to be able to hit the last 2 that matter. And he missed those marks, and we've lost 2 games, and we're a bad basketball team who can't afford to lose games. He's our star. It's his fault. Period. I don't want to hear nothing. Because at the end of the day, everybody can do everything they got to do. But if the guy who you have as your number one has a chance to ice the game and he doesn't, that's it. It's his fault. He's supposed to close it. I don't care what happened leading up to that. We had an opportunity to close it. You're our star. Win the game. And I'm seeing the opposite. I'm seeing guys just fail to accomplish what it is that they're supposed to accomplish. You know what I'm saying? And so, for whatever it's worth, I'm sure he's just as pissed at himself as I am pissed at him for missing these free throws. But most importantly, let's make them. Let's literally make them. You know what I'm saying? And when you're that great, I think it's that simple. Hit them. And as far as LeBron James is concerned, well, LeBron James has a lot of things he could study in that last game. I think a lot of his natural weaknesses displayed themselves in a basketball game where he actually played very well. And I think he was unhappy he lost that game. And I think he will find out, if he looks at that film with an open mind, that there were things he could have did handling the basketball down the stretch, down the closing minutes of the regulation, that could have helped us tempo-wise, that could have helped us tone-wise, continue to put the pressure on the Boston Celtics. We took that foot off of the gas and we allowed them to put their foot on it. And as a result, we lost. And I think it started with LeBron James' assessment of what was taking place in around the 7-minute mark when we had turned the ball over. That inbound play that Marcus Smart ultimately got and laid it up right in front of him and Westbrook as he was inbounding to Westbrook. To me, it seemed like he was thinking, okay, if we try to continue to play at the pace we're playing at, we're going to continue to turn the ball over, make mistakes, and ultimately the clock is going to work against us. Instead of continuing to do the attacking type of pace that we were doing, running down their throats and getting in their paint, getting the ball to AD and trying to find ourselves easy buckets, instead of doing that, he started slowing it down, trying to get in the half court, doing all that ISO stuff, and ultimately setting the tone for what was going to be a really, really embarrassing overtime for our tendencies. Jacking up 3-point shots, jacking them out of rhythm, out of clock shots, just, you know, and then they'll say it's mental fatigue, but that has nothing to do with how you run the plays you run. If you want to run a slow play that gets us a jump shot, run it properly so that we can work it around like we're supposed to in a half-court setting. That's not what I saw in overtime. I saw us sitting there with the wrong matchups on the floor, playing into the defense hands and shooting the shots they gave us. Shots that we were supposed to miss based on the fact that everybody knew we were going to miss those shots, including the defense who were giving it to them. So it's just like, if you're going to take those shots, playing into the defense's hands, you do understand that it's the literal equivalent of doing the same thing in a different way. You know that, right? When you take a 3-point shot in overtime that they leave you open to shoot and they're packing the paint, that's the equivalent of driving and trying to lay the ball up over Anthony Davis. You're going to get swatted. That's not a high percentage play. You got to work the ball around, find something else. And so that's what I wanted the Lakers to identify in overtime. It's like, bro, they're giving you the shot they know you're going to miss, and you're taking it. Like, that basketball IQ was just overwhelmingly low in that game, in that overtime. Overwhelmingly low. It's like guys did things that deliberately put us in positions to lose. And I made a video about that conspiracy thought. I'm not liking some of the competitive ways that we have approached some of these games against some of these big-time franchises. Boston and Philly, they should not be walking away from these games with wins the way that they coach those games. Absolutely not. And we found ourselves still losers, and it's like, I don't know why we found ourselves doing things worse than those teams in those games, when those teams were basically throwing those games, whether they knew it or not. So this is my thing. I want our coach to kind of zoom out as it pertains to, yes, you're a rookie, but this is still the sport of basketball that you've been watching and coaching and playing at some level or form your entire life. And some of the stuff we're seeing down there is like people who don't know how to coach basketball. Like, you don't know that you need size down there. You don't know that Patrick Beverley ain't scoring the ball. You don't know that all of that's leading to the other things that go wrong with this roster. It's like, come on, man. And you hear all these commentators telling you that. And it's like, at some point in time, you know, you can't ignore every bit of commentary that comes your way. Every bit of criticism is not to be ignored, because some of that stuff assesses things that maybe you're in denial of seeing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, we're all telling you this is garbage, bro. Nobody is happy with this 2 small ball lineup starting matchup thing that you're doing. It doesn't work. It offends us because we saw it last year with Frank Vogel last year, and it beat the heck out of us every night. And it's like, you still do it. It's still leading to losses. Players still walking away hurt and doing too much and doing too little. And it's like, man, if you would just be conventional about how you want to run these lineups as it pertains to how tall these guys are, our team would have a better chance of winning. You saw how good we were doing when you took them small dudes off the floor against the Celtics. Went on a 37-4 run, my friend. That's because you went away from that small ball. These guys don't need a lot. Anthony Davis and LeBron James can run a 2-man game to destroy most of the league. All they need is just tall enough people to help them around with what they do. And it's like we make things complicated on ourselves. It's the Kobe minute. Gotta salute. But even my man Kobe used to make life hard on himself, shooting over 3 and 4 guys. 3 people open, bro. Get the ball to them and then create an environment for which they know to get the ball to you. You can still shoot the shot. You feel me? Once they get that ball to that open space, the defense is going to react to that. You can cut yourself into a certain position to get the ball back. But you got to trust your teammates to do that. You can't think they're just automatically going to do something wrong when you pass it to them, and I think that's what we've been engaging in. We don't think that they're going to do anything right when we're passing the ball. Bro, we're on the same team. If we're not trusting each other, then it's already falling apart before we even start to play. And so this is the problems that I think the Lakers have. They're not trusting themselves. They're doing the wrong things, and as a result, they're doubting themselves. And it's like you start to believe yourself to be who it is that the results of what you're doing wrong is showing you. No, you just got to do things right, and you can see yourself to be who you are. We're the team that the Boston Celtics had trouble with in that third and fourth quarter, not the team that collapsed down the stretch. That's who we turned back into when we stopped doing the things that we know how we do. That's what we do when we don't know who we are. That's what we do before we beat the Nuggets that first time. So I was just very disappointed in the Lakers, but I also was encouraged by the fact they could learn from that. That's the type of game that can help you win 5 and 6 games if you study what you did wrong there. So that's how we have to play it, and that's how I'm going to be assessing it. Are these guys going to learn from that, or are they going to come in with their head down, seeing that the Nuggets scored 143 points against the Wizards in the last game, and expect to get their butts whooped because this team is just as good as the Celtics in some ways right now? And nobody should hang their head down if they play well and lose to this team because they're that dang good. You know what I mean? That's why I was telling you guys, this homestand that we're on, this little 3-game homestand, this ain't a real homestand. You got to play the Celtics, you got to play the Nuggets, and then I think it's the Wizards or something like that. I think it's the Wizards. So it's like you only get one real game that's actually a home game because these two are hard. Then you got to go back on the road. So it's like, this ain't no real homestand. We're just happen to be at home. This is still part of that road trip, and I think the team needs to look at it that way. But as far as I could tell, this Nuggets team, the way that they're playing right now, I didn't really see a whole lot there that really encouraged me from the numbers based on the 4 games or 5 games that I studied from their numbers. Because as I said, they really can play a whole lot of different ways. But the one consistent thing that I saw is they really don't want to shoot over 43-point shots. If we can turn them into a team that's shooting more 3s than 2s, then I think that actually works in our favor because it gets them out of their game. No different than the team trying to force us to shoot 3s. We just don't want to do it. Now, they can do it, though. Jokic and those guys, Bones, if you leave them out there, Jeff Green, they can hit 3s all night. Jamal Murray, it's not an issue. It's not like they're us. They just would prefer not to. They have a game plan that they're in, and it requires them to get in the paint, score a lot. And so that's my thing. Can we turn them into 3-point shooters depending on if Porter's on the floor? Because if Porter's out there, that goes bye-bye. You let him shoot 8 threes, he'll hit them all. But some of those other guys, it can come and go. Although with Jamal Murray, I kind of think the same thing. If his legs are there, he can hit 9 of them. So it's like, this is a real contender, you guys. This is a real contender. We're not like them. They're not like us. We got to make like 2 and 3 trades to get to where they're at. And that's the reality of it. Them, Memphis, New Orleans, that's the cream of the Western Conference right now. I don't know who else everybody's seeing. Golden State, Clippers, those are not real teams. Those are the 3 contenders that I see right there. And if we're not finding ways to be able to consistently match up with them and beat them consistently, then we're not a playoff team. Because this is our real matchup. Also the Suns as well. You got to consider the Suns with that. The Suns, the Memphis Grizzlies, the Denver Nuggets, and New Orleans Pelicans. That's the Western Conference I know of. The rest of the West ain't real. So that's what I got to say, man. That's my God's honest truth. And I look at the Nuggets and I know that given the fact that they're coming on the road here, this is a road game for them. Maybe we can catch them slipping a little bit. As I said, they had 19 turnovers in the last game. I don't think that's a recipe for success for the Nuggets. If they turn the ball over like that, Jokic has 8-9 turnovers tonight. We could beat them, dude. And that's the thing. Obviously, they got Porzingis in Washington, but they ain't got no Anthony Davis. They ain't got no LeBron James. We're going to need those guys to play well. We're going to need those guys to flex just like they did against the Celtics and have the same kind of first 3 quarters. Well, no. 3rd quarter, 4th quarter. Study that. Copy and paste. We want to have that type of energy that when we went on that long run, that's when we were most impressive. We put our size on the floor and ran a 2-man game with AD and got Westbrook involved in the playmaking and stuff like that. That is big. Westbrook, fantastic statistical game in the last game. 4 spectacular blocks, bunch of assists, bunch of points, huge boards. He was everywhere. Stats all up and down the board. However, he also contributed a great deal to the overtime woes. The infamous mid-range jumper. I think he had a missed layup, stuff like that. Obviously, the turnover on the inbound, the regulation. It can't be a situation where we're doing all this good, celebrating, as per usual, with like 8 minutes to go when you up by 14, smiling, dancing, all that other goofy crap. And then at the end of the game, when it's time to do things correct, you play directly into the losing and then want us to clap for your stats. It's never going to happen, Russell. Not in this uniform. We will never do that, bro. The only thing we're going to remember is the fact that you catered to the loss. Because everything that you did that catered to winning didn't succeed in the winning. So we don't remember it. And that's how he needs to understand how real winners think. Because there's nothing to celebrate until the horn, bro. Every game. All that rock the baby stuff is really entertaining, and we don't mind the brand entertainment because guys got to sell shoes. But don't mistake that for some real success, bro. Ain't nobody over here celebrating with you for that. You are directly talking to Nike when you do that. LA ain't feeling none of that. And you know it because you from out here. We don't care about what's going on in the third quarter unless it's going to lead to us having guys being able to sit down in the fourth and not have to play. Because the game's over and we've won it. That's what matters to us. If we ain't celebrating and rocking the baby during those circumstances when the buzzer hits and we've won, then we're just embarrassing ourselves and continuing to compound the same stupidity that people make fun of us for. Stop celebrating too early, bro. You're embarrassing us and you're embarrassing yourself. Especially when it comes down to the final minutes of the game and you don't know how to win the damn game. You ain't got nothing to celebrate. And that's what needs to be said, bro. I'm tired of this front-running nonsense. Bron does it too. We ain't got nothing to celebrate, bro. We're down 5 games below 500. We've been losing to teams that we ain't got no business losing to in games that they don't want to win. We ain't got nothing to celebrate, bro. We got to be pensive. We got to be militant about how we're approaching the rest of the season. Because if we're on this folly crap, we're going to be looking at each other, rolling each other's eyes every time something goes wrong. Men got to be serious right now because they're in a hole, and the only way they're going to get out of it is by focusing on what it is they need to do and not front running and forgetting what it is that the big goal is. The ultimate goal is for you to win these games. And you're doing things that's firing up the other team because you're celebrating when they know you ain't did nothing. When they know you have legitimate weaknesses that they can attack at any time. Russell, we have holes in our roster, fam. Meaning, anytime you celebrate, all the other coach has to do is strategize against those holes just to make you look stupid. Because he can do that because those holes are natural in our roster. Meaning, all they got to do is execute against those weaknesses over and over and over and over and over again, and they're going to win each game. We're not properly constructed. You never, ever have the right to celebrate with a team that has a natural hole in it, bro. You're bleeding at all times. That's what we need to understand. That needs to be understood by every player on this team. Bro, as long as teams understand that we have natural weaknesses and that we can't shoot the three and all they have to do is pack the paint, they can beat us every night. These teams ain't smart enough to strategize against us. We're weak and we need a trade. And that is the reality of it. Mazzulla exposed us. He exposed us. Because he forced us to shoot the three when we were doing all kinds of scoring in the paint. And we didn't continue to go into the paint to show him that his defense in the paint wasn't going to work. So he effectively showed the rest of the league how to beat us. Just let them boys shoot the three. They're going to be stupid enough to attempt it for show. And you're going to rebound the ball and go the other way. That's what we did. In a matter of a couple minutes, we undid any lure that came with that long run where we just couldn't be stopped. Nobody worried about that because they know that at some point in time, AD going to get in foul trouble. At some point in time, Bron going to run out of gas. At some point in time, them other dudes going to start bricking shots because that's just who they are. They ain't that good. And when that happens, we can flex. And that's what every team needs to do. So as far as I can tell, this Laker team there's no confidence to be held. We have to take every possession seriously. And we got to understand that hole is always open to try to do everything we can to exploit other teams' holes and stay focused because of it. Every possession matters. Every possession must be accounted for. Why? Hole in roster. That must be understood. You can get away with certain things when your team's constructed without holes. When you have all the elements of basketball, you can take long 3-point shots. You can mess up on a 2-for run. You can mess up on foul trouble stuff. Those things can happen because that hole can be that hole as opposed to the one that's naturally open at all times because you ain't got no shooting. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, look, you can't do that against the professional ranks. They're going to take advantage of that. They know you ain't got what you need, so simple. Team like the Nuggets just pack the paint. It dares to come in there. And that's where Anthony Davis comes in. You're the guy that busts that up. Nobody else can stop you. They can pack the paint all they want, and all they're going to do is draw fouls against you 3-point plays if you're doing what you're supposed to do. You can defeat that defense. So we're going to need him to. And we're going to need him to play smart with his foul trouble. You should look at foul trouble like losing millions of dollars, bro. You know what I'm saying? If you protect foul trouble like you protect your bank account, I guarantee you're going to be just fine. Some of the fouls he be getting, he's swiping at players. Some of these dudes are like the 6th and 7th guy on the bench swiping at him as he's shooting a layup. That ain't no foul. Don't touch him. Concede that because we need you for the rest of the game. You know what I'm saying? These are the type of things. Reaching around, running out the 3-point line, that kind of stuff. I want to see Anthony Davis not pick up them type of fouls. No, if you're going to pick up a foul, let it be because Jokic plowed into your chest. Let it be because you went at Jokic and they called offensive foul. So don't let it be because you swiped at Bruce Brown as he came by you on a screen. So I don't want to hear that, see that, or none of that. His foul trouble must be considered the most important thing for our team, because if he's off the floor, we have no rim protection. And if he's off the floor, we're probably going to break a bunch of shots. So everything revolves around AD, especially when Winion ain't out there. And his foul trouble and how he handles that needs to be reflected on that. And how he's managed by his coach needs to be reflected on that as well. So these are the things, man. This last Celtic game gave us a lot. We weren't happy. We're embarrassed. We will never get over that because we lost to the Celtics in that fashion. They'll always be able to rear that over our heads, just like every other win they've ever had over us. So the Lakers really set us back as far as how we feel about that. But nevertheless, they have an opportunity to get bounced back by beating a Nuggets team that's very good as well. A team we've already had success against. A team that tends to not play as well against us as maybe they do against some other teams. Jokic tends not to go as crazy against AD as he usually does against other guys. So hopefully that can stand true today. But I'm watching Jamal Murray. His last game wasn't standout. The 2 games before that was. So he's going to bounce back for sure. Be ready for Jamal Murray to try to go over 25 points tonight. Jeff Green, Bones Highland, Christian Braun, Gordon, they're all going at it. KCP, these are guys you will see tonight. They're coming. So we got to understand that they know each other. They play well together. And they're ready to go after a championship for the first time in a couple of years. They finally got most of their guys healthy, and there's nothing in the way of them competing. So this is that. It's sort of like Golden State. When Golden State had their stars out for a year or two and they had an opportunity to let other guys develop so that their team could be more full. Now you have that dynamic in in Denver. And I think it might have the exact same effect as they had on the Warriors. They might be a contender or maybe even an NBA Finals team this year because of all that manufactured depth that came from those guys being absent and now those guys returning. So I'm excited about the prospect of the Denver Nuggets being able to compete. And I'm also excited about the prospect of us beating them tonight and having this be one of the best wins of the season, especially since we can do great things. That run was not a fluke. It was a 37-4 run. We destroyed the Celtics for a good portion of the time of that third and fourth quarter. They were demoralized. They were helpless. They were backpedaling. They were turning the ball over. They were fouling. They was missing, and they were sad. But then Marcus Smart did Marcus Smart things because guys like that just don't care about momentum. They maneuver the momentum themselves. They manipulate that themselves. And we saw him make a great play. That's it. We saw our guys be lax in their situation, do the stuff that they're prone to do with their losing ways. We got a 14-point lead. Inbound the ball all soft. That type of crap that you would never see real championship Lakers ever do. Westbrook and Bron. Nah, Fish and Kobe would never inbound the ball like that against Marcus Smart and the Celtics. Their minds would have been on the crispness of how that play needs to be run, especially on the inbound with that man Smart on the floor. We got to be smarter against Smart. So this is the type of stuff I'm looking at, man. Can we accept the fact that Bruce Brown could do some of those same things tonight? Can we accept the fact that they do have that type of talent down there too? KCP, those guys are going to steal the ball too. So inbound the ball correctly, hit your damn free throws, rebound the ball. Because the Denver Nuggets out-rebounded the Washington Wizards by 20 in the last game. We need not let them do that to us. So let that be understood. No unforced turnovers, 3-point discipline, transition defense, fast break points. We really do kick butt in the fast break. That was the main thing we were doing, defense to offense against the Celtics in that run. So we got to turn our defense into offense tonight. Jokic ain't the fastest player in the world. We got to try to swarm him, put players around him, and know he's going to pass out of those things with perfection. So be ready. Defense is everything tonight. If we don't play defense, if we don't rebound the ball, if we don't take care of the basketball, we might as well not even suit up. That's pretty much it. The Denver Nuggets are not to be played with. So that's what I got, man. I'll have something for you at the end of this game, of course. And I'm looking forward to the Lakers bouncing back, man. We had a lot of film study to accomplish from this last game. And if they didn't come in all insecure, looking at themselves, pointing the finger at each other, and looking at what they did as a collective unit to get better, they could take some of what they did in that Boston game, apply it to this game, and get a victory tonight. But it's all about their mentality and their confidence and how they come out. Are they serious about winning, or are they serious about holding each other accountable for losing? Whatever the case may be, it better lead to some winning, or we're going to be screaming because we're tired of losing these games in embarrassing fashion. I do not want to lose this game by no blowout, right? And I do not want to lose this game at the buzzer because we miss free throws or anything weird like that. No overtime, nothing. Let's get us a nice basketball game here, and let's win by double digits against a team we have no business beating. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.